Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the BTB Movie Club podcast. My name is Mike Hilty. We hope you enjoyed today's movie discussion. Thanks for listening.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the BTB Movie Club. My name is Tim Larson. We're here to discuss movie number 211. We went current this week, so we went to the movie theater on Hilty's command and saw Wicked, where I don't know about you guys, but I forced my wife to go, so I didn't look funny walking into the theater as a 52-year-old man by myself. You
At
guys,
least they didn't make you go watch a children's movie because that would be just as awkward.
yeah, would have amounted to about the same thing with the people that were in the theater, though. So, looking forward to this one. This is our first time that we have gone into the theater and seen a movie, so let's get the reaction just to doing that, and let's talk about this movie. So, Hilty, it's your show. Run with it.
So one of the websites I write for, we did a movie roundup for November, and November had actually a pretty good amount of movies to talk about. So there was Gladiator 2, there was Heretic, there was Anora, there's A Real Pain, which is really good as well. And then there was Wicked. And I ended up picking Wicked because I thought that it would be the most interesting thing to talk about amongst you all because I have no idea how this is going to go. So I've taken a look at the list of movies that we've watched. I don't see a whole lot of musicals. So I'm very curious to hear everyone's thoughts. Got a couple things that I did want to talk about and to ask. But I guess let's start with this. Has every actually, I'll start with this. Wilden, have you ever heard of The Wizard of Oz?
I picked The Wizard of Oz with the Pink Floyd album in the background as a movie, so go fuck yourself, Mike Hilty. All right, I've got two of you so
why
far.
the
Is Wilden
aggressive?
drinking? What is
Jeez.
going on over here?
Holy cow.
Man,
like it.
It's a children's show.
Feeling
This is the
spunky, that's all.
furthest thing from a children's show, but okay. So, okay, then I will preface this by, or I will amend said statement and said, has everyone here at least seen The Wizard of Oz? And if you have, give me some general thoughts on it. You know,
We had to,
okay.
because we
it's
watched
on,
it
we
for the
watched
group.
it here.
Okay, then I missed that because it wasn't recorded. So, what did everyone think of The Wizard of Oz in conjunction with Pink Floyd's album?
That was a Wilden pick a little while ago. We had an option of maybe doing an album. Matt Smith did an album, and he got roasted for it pretty hard. And so people have been shy about picking albums ever since that. Wilden picked the combo of Dark Side of the Moon and Wizard of Oz. And I think we kind of talked more about that than we did the actual movie. However, I would say it's got to be all of us saw this when we were kids at one point or another, Wizard of Oz. And it's just such an infatuating movie. All of the color and all of the characters and take the singing or leave it as a musical. I think as a kid you have to be kind of fascinated by the movie.
Terrified of the monkeys. That was the main thing I remember.
The monkeys were the thing that you were terrified of. Okay, that
I was
is
like
fair.
4 or something.
I mean, they were legit creepy.
Mhm. Yeah. Okay, cool. All right, so let's go ahead and start. And we can go, Brian, since you mentioned that you saw it already, or should I wait a little bit? Because apparently everybody could just pick whatever order they want to go in now.
I don't want to go now that you said I could pick. I mean, so yes, I've seen it twice. Went and saw it opening weekend and saw it again with my daughter for our Thanksgiving holiday weekend. And I have also seen the Broadway play. Well, not Broadway. I saw it in Detroit, but I saw the play also. So um, I think that, in my opinion, I know another person in the group kind of went off a little bit last week about how they
Oh, that
the
will be addressed.
Broadway
No,
version
no
and
worries. That will
such.
be addressed. He will
So
be addressed
I
last,
don't remember
unfortunately.
this. I
But
don't remember. Okay.
I felt I felt knowing more actually enriched my experience of seeing the movie. Um, I have watched several of the YouTube videos of Kristen Chenoweth and Indina Menzel and their versions of the songs, and I mean just the quality of the singers that Ariana Grande and Joe, I always
Cynthia Erivo.
Revo, yeah, they phenomenal singers. Um, they, and the first thing that I saw, I have a teenage daughter, so the first thing I saw Ariana Grande do was Justice on, um, or Victoria, sorry, on Nickelodeon or whatever yeah, it was Nickelodeon, and she was this airheaded, goofy character, and I kind of felt like she channeled Kat a little bit as her role as Galinda until she courageously
Galinda.
so she courageously changed her name in honor of the professor to just Glinda.
Mhm.
Um, it was just, and I've never read the book. I've heard the books are really good too that are involved in it. But just a well done movie that is very enjoyable. Um, the music is outstanding. Jeff Goldblum, uh, uh,
Is
just
just is Jeff Goldblum.
I mean, but I've never heard him sing before. He just, I haven't seen him do a bad role in anything he's done, all the way from The Fly, Jurassic Park to this. Like I said, there's not much bad I could say about it. I thought the acting that went along with it was good. I thought um, I haven't seen Elphaba in anything else, so this was my first experience with her, and listening to her voice, just outstanding. I'm not the music guy like Tim is, who knows how hard it is to hit those notes and such. I've never heard him get that high.
I can't do anything
So,
like that.
um, I think yeah, it's so good, and I don't want to ruin anything because part two has got so much more to show than, but just some of the things, the little side things like the guy kicking the books open and sliding his feet, he did that on his own. The artists singing their parts live as they recorded it, and for Revo to be suspended in the air with a contraption on her, like Pink does during her concerts, is just amazing to be able to sing, hit those notes, let alone be floating in the air with a steel. I don't know if anyone's seen the non-doctored parts of it, but that steel contraption around her waist as they're holding her in the air, it's, just amazing. So, great job. They respected the characters from the Broadway show. I would say it was uh, how would I put it? The director loved the play and the book, and he combined them in almost a perfect way to make this movie. That's what I'll say about finish my comments on with that.
All right. Good stuff. Thanks, Brian. That was something that I was going to ask, is that had you seen the Broadway play? And I think anybody who's seen the Broadway play or, you know, off Broadway, if that's what you can consider Detroit, I guess. So,
Whoa, I mean,
Well,
hey,
you have
hey,
some
hey,
disparaging
hey,
kind
words
of
to say about
shit was
Detroit and the
that?
Detroit Opera House?
if it's in Chicago, it's definitely off Broadway as well. So you can
Okay.
calm down.
Okay.
You can calm down. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I should have said anything not Broadway is off Broadway. That includes the wonderful city of Detroit. My
If you want to
apologies.
disparage Detroit, call it a shithole, not off Broadway. We take offense to that.
Right, right. Okay. And that was actually a question that I was going to ask is that did seeing the Broadway play enhance your experience. And it is kind of like a little bit of a curse of knowledge because you know some of the little intricacies, which please, if you've seen the musical before, please don't spoil it for anybody who has or has not seen it, because there is still a lot of story to tell, like you said. But um, yeah, so I guess you already answered that question. One other question I did have is that this movie is long. It is 2 hours and about 40 minutes. Did you ever feel the length of this movie?
I did. Trying to think where it would be. Kind of the whole getting them to Oz, and I love the fact that they had Chenoweth and Idina Menzel in it, and they did their little parts that wasn't in the musical. It was a drawn out part of it, but they were both awesome, and I loved when Kristen Chenoweth covered Ariana Grande's mouth, and but yeah, I felt that just kind of drawn out, and it took forever to change the monkey. Just throw the damn wings on the thing and let's go.
Oh yeah, just staple the wings on the monkey and
Right.
just call it a day.
That's how
Right.
they did it in the play, I think.
Sure.
on
Yeah.
on
Yeah.
Broadway.
Yeah.
Probably in shitty Detroit they did it. They
Yeah,
just stapled them things on there and kept going.
I mean, maybe they did that on Broadway as well. Who knows? I don't know. I didn't see it on Broadway. I saw it in, off Broadway Chicago, I guess. So, okay, cool. Thanks for that, Brian. I guess something I'll ask everybody. Do you have a favorite musical number?
Ooh. I think I would have to go with Dancing Through Life.
All right. Good
When is
stuff.
that? When does that come up?
That is when
Yes,
Fiyero is in the
Fiyero.
library.
It's like your introduction to Fiyero.
Okay.
All right. Cool. Thanks, Brian. Melo, since you said that this movie is shiz, I'm curious to hear what your thoughts are on this.
Yeah, I was gonna tell Brian that he can go ahead and spoil it because I will not be watching part two. No, the the main takeaway is it's just not for me. What they did is well done.
That's absolutely fine. There's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah, no, like I said, I mean, and I feel this way about the vast majority of musicals. It's rare that there's one that I really like. I always think of that Norm Macdonald skit from Saturday Night Live with Downey Jr. I think I shared it last time we had some musical where it just, I don't know. Like I definitely appreciate the choreography and the camera work that they have to do to get all of that, the writing, and obviously the singing. But yeah, the more of them that I watched, just not really for me. That said, there were some moments that a lot of moments that I really did like. And again, I think everybody did very well at what they were required to do. The thing that worked best for me that I wish they did more, or I would have liked to have seen a movie just maybe without the musical part or whatever, but I thought Ariana Grande and the quirkiness and that whole thing, when that was happening, that was the best stuff for me. I don't know if there's more in the book or in the Broadway show or maybe in part two. That was another thing. I didn't know this was a part one. And so when that popped up, I was like, damn it. Like,
Yeah, I don't like this current trend in Hollywood where even though I'm pretty sure that, if you go searching for it, which I think it's kind of shitty that you have to go searching for it, that it is potentially a part one. But I think between this and Dune part one and two, like the most egregious of those two movies coming out, that kind of
And
hit
The Hobbit
that.
in 3 parts too. Like the
But it,
fact that that book was 3 movies.
but the difference is that it was announced that The Hobbit was going to be in 3 parts with
Oh, yeah.
Dune. Like it was just called Dune, and then the title, like the opening title was like Dune Part 1. I'm like, motherfucker. Like I knew it, but yeah, it's a lot. And it's the same thing with this where it's like Wicked Part 1, like, oh, that's gonna piss off a lot of people because Part 1 and Part 2s have kind of just started to get like a really bad reputation in Hollywood lately. And I understand why they do it because it's more money prospectively for the studio, but also at the end of the day, if they want to tell the whole story the way that they want it to, then just do part 1 and part 2, which again doesn't change the fact that it's shitty, but yeah.
Well, and that's fine. I mean, and for a world that, if you're into it and you really do like it, that's cool. There's all like I love that about the quality of TV now compared to growing up, where there's all these, you get to live in that world so much more than
Mhm.
just a 2 hour movie. But again, yeah, I didn't know that going in. So when that pops up, you're like, I know that they're going to obviously find a good ending point, but I'm not going to, there's going to be more questions than answers, um, by the end of it. And one of those questions was, so again, I don't know if it happens more in part 2 or if in the book they go into it. The whole animals uh, thing seemed to kind of come out of nowhere, and then I didn't really understand um, fully, and maybe it's on me, but that didn't seem as fleshed out as I would have liked. Um, I also so her sister, that's supposed to be the Wicked Witch of the East. How does that happen? Like that,
Right.
um, you know, again, just questions.
Well, when you go
But
see part 2, Melo.
yeah,
Yeah.
when I see it on my couch when it's free.
I'll tell you one thing I noticed about that Melo though, that I was shocked I picked up any little details at all. I told Nikki this on the way home. As she's sitting in the chair, and either putting on shoes or going to the dance or whatever, she's got on striped socks.
Mm,
And in the
that's
movie,
cool.
when the shoes come off and the feet roll up, she's wearing those striped socks.
Right. And she's wearing the iconic ruby red. Oh wait, no, she's not.
Well, that's again part 2. However, the
Fine.
socks are there, and that's all you really need.
Okay. All right. Hold on one second. So the ruby red slippers. So in the original Wizard of Oz book, there are no ruby red slippers. There's silver slippers. So
Oh, okay.
they are so the movie in like 1939 or whenever the hell it came out, decided to make it red so it would pop more on screen.
Technically,
So
yeah.
it's so in this movie's defense and the Wizard of Oz book, there were no red slippers.
Well, then I like that. And there was a lot of like I also, yeah, I've never read the Wizard of Oz book. I didn't read the Wicked book, and so again, I don't know how much was an actual deviation in this one or was just stuff like that. I guess maybe that should have been there, and I just didn't know. But again, a lot more questions. How did the monkeys go from attacking her to supporting her? I guess we'll find out. Um,
Fair.
my favorite song though was Popular. I don't know if that's the name of it, but
Yes,
um,
yes.
but we talked about kind of the movie dragging a bit, and that up until then, I was finally like, okay, good. Now the movie's happening. They're friends, and I actually liked that. Maybe it doesn't mean as much if you don't get through the first part. Fine, but I liked that better. And then I even liked once you got past the beginning of Oz, and it was like, okay, the transformation and all this stuff is happening. I don't know any origin story like that. It can go a couple different ways, right? Like the original the Star Wars episodes 1, 2, and 3, right? Where how it how it ends up, but how we get there is hopefully interesting. And the
Yeah.
same kind of thing here. It just that last 40 minutes of the movie or something like that was obviously the most exciting and the most tension and everything that was happening there. I thought was pretty good. I didn't realize that the cameo. My daughter told me two things. So she told me that was Kristen Chenoweth and Idina Menzel. Is that it?
Yep.
Yes.
And then the other
You
little
said it way better than Travolta did.
Yes. That was
okay.
that was bad.
The other bit of Hollywood gossip, I guess the dude who which the Munchkins uh were different like that,
We're,
like
we're all just regular people.
yeah, there's no lollipop guild or anything. But anyway, I guess that one dude, I thought he said Buck originally, and then I thought she kept mispronouncing it, but Bach or whatever. Anyway, him and Grande apparently are together and
Oh,
not with their former spouses anymore. And I had no idea. My daughter told me that. I was like, oh, interesting. So I looked up both of them, and yeah, sure enough. So just
with all due respect to him, good for him, man.
Yeah.
He must
Punching
be,
out of his weight class.
but he must be really funny.
Who knows? So, but yeah, like I said, just the main overall take was I appreciate the quality. You can tell it's there. A lot of the things that went into this at every level. But again, not really my thing.
Mm-hmm. All right, all good. So question I have for you is that, um, how often do you go to the theaters? And if it wasn't for me, well, obviously you wouldn't have gone and see this because musicals just aren't your jam, and that's fine. But what do you typically go watch at the movies? Because I know for me, since it's so goddamn expensive to go to the movies now, I'm a lot more selective than I was because I looked through some old ticket stubs. I'm like, oh, I went to go see Enemy at the State in the theaters. I don't think I'd go see Enemy of the State now at theaters, even though I really like
You
that
s-
movie.
you saw Winnie the Pooh, Blood and Honey too.
It's irrelevant. So Winnie the Pooh, Blood and Honey won as well. So
Anytime he can
Might have
punch
had a
back.
free pass.
Anytime he can
Maybe
punch back.
maybe he was getting some, free points. You never know.
sure.
So to answer, the last movie I saw was Gladiator 2, and that's because there's a wholesaler from work who he did a thing where he like bought tickets for everybody, and so we went. And then like Mike, they were having specialty drinks or whatever, and so I'm like, oh, that's fun. All right, I'll order one. $22 or something for that damn thing
Jeez.
for a free movie,
What?
and and I already ordered it, so I'm drinking it. Yeah. But
Did it come in a collector's cup that you got to keep or anything?
Yeah.
Like,
I don't think so.
Was
I
it
don't think so.
74
It
ounces
did
of
have a
alcohol?
fair amount of alcohol in it, I'll tell you that.
Okay.
So, but as far as like going to the theater, usually it's stuff that I think, would be better on a big screen. So like the new Mission Impossible, I'll probably go check that out, or Marvel movies, that kind of thing. Those are usually it. But something that's maybe a psychological thriller or something like that, not so much. Because I've also gotten to the point where I like pausing partway through and going to make a drink or going to the bathroom or doing, you know what I mean? Like I've gotten old that way. But I used to go to the theater all the time. I used to love seeing everything. But those yeah, that's just changed.
And then you mentioned the part one part of it. So there is a lot of times that individuals, when they go see a part one movie, that there is concerns that part one is dependent on part two and it feels like half a movie. Did you ever feel like this was half a movie, or did you think that this had a semi-complete story arc?
No, I definitely feel like this is half a movie. It's I mean, this is if you were, following screenwriting, this when she transitions, that would in a lot of movies, that would be like the first third. That was the other thing that worried me. Is it part one of two or part one of more than two?
It should be just part there should just only be a part one and part two. And
My theater. I'm sorry.
go ahead. Go ahead.
My theater friends that are like really big fans of this said like the sense that there's an act one and act two, they're kind of like doing it that way. Like it would be like, they were basically doing the movie that way, and that like act two is notoriously a lot different than act one. So, the movie's going to be a little probably different. But
So has it all been filmed, and is it going to be 6 months apart? That kind of thing?
It has
A
all been
year.
filmed. It's going to come out next November.
Yeah, I
Awesome.
believe I said this last week, and is they literally where the intermission is where they ended this movie. So
It does have that benefit, but that's still, I still want to ask because for people who haven't seen the musical or who just
you do your
they- they-
thing. I was just pointing it out. Sorry.
I mean, yes, and the benefit is that this does have a natural ending point, kind of like what they did on Broadway, off Broadway, wherever you go see it, whatever. Aaron, what'd you think of the movie?
I fall into the same category as Melo. Not so much that like musicals aren't my jam or anything, because I'm fine with the musical. You know, I enjoy them as much as anything else if they're done right. Not saying this isn't done right. I just fall into the left me with more questions than answers, and I wasn't sure what the hell was going on. And
Mhm.
Same thing. Good call about the silver slippers instead of the ruby slippers, because I was like, oh, at some point, are they going to change, or are the ruby ones going to be better, or are we just never going to hear of them? Because I had no idea they weren't actually ruby slippers in the book. So,
Mhm.
the movie is all I've seen. I haven't read any of the other books. I know there's other books that go along with even Wizard of Oz. This never saw the play or anything. I knew it existed. I knew it was a play. I know it's been around forever, or been on Broadway for years. Um, didn't really know what I was going into. I'm pretty sure I knew it was two parts. Like Brian even saying mentioned it last week. So that wasn't that much of a disappointment or surprise or whatever. But yeah, it's kind of weird because you had asked earlier. I didn't get to a point at all where it ever felt long, but I was never like super entertained.
Mhm.
And like the music was great, the costumes were great, the acting was phenomenal. It's just the story didn't do it for me. I
Mhm.
didn't. A lot of times I was like, let's get to the point. Let's get to the point. Let's get to the point. Um, but like I said, I don't want to just talk shit and pick out bad things. I've already
But
said.
hold on, but you can if you
No,
want.
no, no, no,
That's fine. I don't mind if you do that.
no. I'd rather talk about the things I liked, and like I
Okay.
said, or things I found out. Like I know, I've got kids similar in age to Brian's daughter. So Nickelodeon was on when she was on TV, and so I've always known she was a teeny tiny person. And I've kind of seen the two leads sitting next to each other being interviewed. I didn't realize that the other actress was just as small, if not smaller than her. So that kind of caught me by surprise. And I don't know if it was camera trickery or if she's actually that small.
I looked it up. They're both 5'1".
Yeah, because in a lot of scenes, it was almost like Ariana Grande was taller than her. And I was like, holy shit, how small is
Wow.
she? And I didn't, from seeing her interviewed, I thought of her as like, 5'8", 5'10", average size. I don't know. I just got the inclination that she was a taller woman compared to Ariana Grande, and then seeing her like so tiny, I was like, are they manipulating the camera? Like, is that? I actually thought it was, especially when they showed her, in full, both silhouette and straight on lit up in her black outfit, like so tiny as a person. And I know Ariana Grande's, people have commented that she looked, you know, too skinny in this, and they've commented on her weight and stuff, and it's been an issue. Um, I kind of see it a little bit with her, just because I've seen her as a kid, when she has the chubbier kid look. Not that she was ever a big girl or anything. She's just slimmed down a little. Her face is slimmer, because she's an adult now. But I thought the other lady was just as small, short wise, and just entire body size. They were teeny tiny people. Um, liked all the characters. I almost leaned over, and the main sorceress lady who takes Alphaba under her wing real quick, just to be a smart ass. My wife saw this with a bunch of the girls in my family um, day after Thanksgiving or 2 days after Thanksgiving. They all went together, so she had seen it. I almost leaned over and went like, "Ooh, she's gonna be a bad guy, isn't she?" With no idea. And then at the end, I was like, "Ooh, I might have got hit." You're like, "Why are you ruining it?" Whatever. Because I had no idea she was gonna end up, being a henchman for the, wizard.
Mhm.
Yeah, I unlike Melo will probably go to the theater to see it because I need some resolution. I want to know what the hell's. I mean, I get that, and I hope there's some resolution with the animals. That the whole thing about pick an enemy, or give the masses an enemy to hate, to unite them, on your side or whatever. But I don't know if they're going to explain why they're losing the ability to speak, or what that has to do with anything, or are they just being slaughtered and eaten, or whatever. Let's see. I already said the music was great. There was I liked what happened with the monkeys. Didn't like. I liked that I didn't like the monkeys originally as a kid in The Wizard of Oz. Obviously, they looked way cooler now. The transformation was cooler. I had the same question. Why did they go from attacking her in the hallway to attacking the troops at the end? Are they going to explain that? So I'm hoping this is one of those things where I didn't like the original so much, and then the sequel came out and saved the day. You were asking me a couple weeks ago, are there many movies like that? And this might be one in that list. I'm willing to give it a shot. But yeah, that was about it. Like I said, I guess if I had to give it a rating, I'd give it a rating of confused. Just because I don't really get what's going on, because I don't know anything about the play and stuff like that. So,
or maybe at bare minimum, maybe incomplete, because it is,
yeah.
A part one. So one of the things that has been going around, and probably the main criticism that this is or that has been kind of leveled on it from critics and influencers, and just other people, is that they don't buy that Elphaba and Glinda are actually friends. And whether or not you buy that kind of determines could determine whether or not you enjoy this movie. So I'll leave this to you, Aaron. Do you buy Elphaba and Glinda's friendship? Do you think they're friends, or do you think that Glinda's just doing Elphaba a solid?
Oh, I don't. Neither of those.
Hmm.
I think Glenda was ultimately always using Elphaba. She was never really her friend. She saw her as a way to get what she wanted all the time. At the start, she was way just upfront about it,
Right.
about her shallowness. And I think she realized she needed to be a little more subtle.
Mhm.
I want to believe at the dance that she felt bad for Elphaba, but I think she also saw it as an opportunity, because she knew Elphaba was powerful. She never bought the story that the Grand Wizardess, flipped the tables at the start. So she knows she's powerful. She knows she has an in. She knows she's special. And as much as she hates it, she knows that that's, for somebody who's been given everything they've wanted, she's got to kind of kiss a little ass this time to get her foot in the door to then get everything she wants. So, no.
Can I jump in, Aaron? Do you
Sure.
mind? Here's my issue with what you're saying, though. So the scene in the club,
Mm-hmm.
Madam Moogle or whatever she was, she shows up,
Horrible.
Morble, and she gives her the wand, and she says, Elphaba is making me join you to our class. Here's your training wand. And then she realizes she feels like shit because she's got her showing up with this stupid hat on and everyone's laughing at her. And just the powerful emotion of she does the silly dance. What I don't get, but Glinda goes out and joins her on that dance, and they have the moment while they're doing it, and the tears are coming from her eyes. I think she feels so bad and realizes that Elphaba's a good person, that that is the moment where they start to become friends and the friendship is true.
Okay. I disagree.
I I think that part is also helped by the way that it's filmed as well, because the behind the scenes stuff is that Ariana Grande intentionally did not learn how to do that dance so that it would feel a lot more authentic, that she was actually being taught the dance. So I think that does contribute a little bit to the emotionalness. Plus, also, if anybody who's seen interviews with these two know that they are just crying messes. They cry over literally everything. So it doesn't surprise me at all that they would cry. But I I do think that some of the criticism out there from people who are like, I'm not sure what to make of this friendship, because it's I hear what people are saying with that, and you know, unfortunately, the burden of, not burden, but the fact that I have seen the musical, you see where this ultimately ends up, and it's like, oh, well, okay.
But well, like you said, I do think there is a genuine, they're becoming friends. But then the moment when the wizard was like, "Hey, Glinda, you can be here too, and you can be part of this, and you got to convince her." All of a sudden, she was about herself again. But there was still a developing friendship that I think was true.
Okay.
Now, I did take it
And-
another way when I was leaving the theater. My
Mhm.
wife asked me, it was quiet for a minute as we walked down the hall, and she's like, "Well, what'd you think?" And I was like, "Well, it was a total ripoff of Star Wars." And so the last song, and I was kidding, but the last song when Alpha was singing about ultimate power, um, and how so if you stay in the mind frame that she is the evil witch and she's trying to corrupt this pure good blonde haired witch and bring her over to the dark side, um but she didn't like what I was saying about that. So
Is
and
anybody surprised by this take from Aaron Lashbrook?
I mean, she's singing about ultimate
No.
power.
Yeah.
But anyway, favorite song was "You're Gonna Be Popular." I mean,
Mhm.
I've heard it a lot of places. Kids are singing it in the halls at school. So
Well, it's funny that you mentioned the Star Wars thing, because I was going to ask you this as well. Is that as a fan of a franchise who had three movies and then they went back and told a little bit of the origin story of Darth Vader. Does does the fact that you know what's going, how this kind of ends up, because you know how it ends in The Wizard of Oz, and in with the prequels, you know that, okay, this ultimately is going to end with Anakin becoming Darth Vader and the Jedi just being disbanded and the Empire rising up. Does that does that ever come kind of become like a friction point a little bit when it comes to watching a movie, where it's like, I know where this is going to end up, and I'm either going to have to turn my brain off and enjoy the ride, or I'm just in the back of my head, I know how this is going to end. So, what's the point?
no, I've never had a problem with that in any franchise. I have
Mhm.
no problems with flashbacks or origin stories or
Mhm.
knowing what's going to happen and showing me how we got there. So no, that's never been a problem. Full disclosure. So we went to, when my wife saw the movie, she saw it with my family and they sat through, I think I even brought it up. They said like 30 minutes of previews,
Yeah,
which was ridiculous.
such bullshit.
That's awesome.
We went to
I
a
love
different
previews.
theater. We went to a different theater today than my wife went to before. And I kind of anticipated a bunch of trailers, but this theater is, I guess, known for starting the movie when they say they're going to start the movie. So if it's a 4:40 movie, they started at 4:40. So I did miss like the first 6 minutes.
Oh.
Oh,
Um, And Christy was like,
Well, that
house-
explains that
No.
explains
Yeah.
everything that's
Yeah,
happening
the
in
best part of the
so
movie
you're
is in the
you're
first
shit out
6
of luck,
minutes.
man. No,
There are two movie theaters, or not two movie theaters, but there are two different things. There are some movies that start their trailers at the time the movie starts, and there are some that say their trailers start 15 minutes before the movie's start time. So you have to know when you're buying your tickets what theater you're going to and what they do. And clearly you fucked up.
I did 100%. That's what I had told my, I got home.
So where did you go?
Sperry's. Sperry's. And Xavier said right away, I was like, yeah, we got there late. And, he's like, oh, yeah, they start right on time. That's what I love about that place. So
My least favorite part of the movie was the first 10 minutes. So you're probably better off. Honestly,
I might have really hated it.
Malo's like the Grinch who
Jesus.
stole Wicked.
Yeah.
let
There was-
Fucking
was-
credits.
let-
Did you see? That was Comic Sans, wasn't it? That was Comic Sans credits. Jesus Christ.
I couldn't understand what she was singing. She sang so high and
Oh.
all opera-y, and yeah.
The first, that was going to be one complaint if I leveled a complaint. Ariana Grande's first song, I couldn't understand a word she was saying. I had no idea what that song was about. But then it got better. It seemed to get better.
Okay.
Because she was so high, singing so high.
Okay, cool. All right. Thank you, Aaron.
Mhm.
Tim, go ahead. What?
Hey man, I love this. I loved it from pretty much the start to finish. I had no issue whatsoever with the lack of completion. Like listening to you guys, Malo talking about 3 acts and Wilden talking about 2 acts. I don't have a problem with any of that. I just kind of, I know where the story's going to end, and I was enjoying the ride of how we're going to get there. I guess I'll just put it that way, because there's an obvious end and you know where the character ends up. And so for me, I was just enjoying the ride. I'm just a happy idiot in a movie theater seat, watching and enjoying. Musicals for me, I really like songs like you guys talked about, Popular, that seem more interactive in the scene. There are times in musicals where it's just the plot stops and people start singing, and that does drive me crazy. Like kind of the intro when you get to Oz. There's this big production of you made it to Oz, and we got to listen to people sing about it for 3 minutes. I could kind of do without that kind of stuff in musicals. However, I also see why that's in this movie, because that's what Wizard of Oz is like, so you are in the middle of a franchise, so to speak. Let's see. I wrote a bunch of notes here. In the first place, John Chu, the director here, I just did a quick look right before we got on. His credits are Crazy Rich Asians and G.I. Joe Retaliation and now Wicked. This guy's got a pretty diverse, resume going on here. Might want to keep our eye on that guy.
Did you ever see In the Heights? Because
No, I heard they did that. I haven't seen any of these. I never saw Crazy Rich Asians either. I'm just saying these are notable movies, and this guy,
G.I. Joe's Retaliation, solid.
Okay.
Solid movie.
I did fall asleep 3 times at the theater watching this. I will say that I enjoyed the movie thoroughly, and I fell asleep 3 times. So this came up earlier, the 2 hours and 40 minutes. I don't think this needed to be 2 hours and 40 minutes. The background story stuff of the baby childhood stuff, and when they first get to the school and meeting the dude, it just kind of went on. I was like, where are we getting to the point where they throw the water on her and she melts? There was a little bit of that for me. It started off strong. Love the opening scene with the hat and the puddle and the 4 characters walking off towards Oz. The imagery of that I thought was fantastic. And then we get to the beginning, and I was just kind of like, let's get back to some action here. Like, where are we going? So for me, if I have one knock on this, it's that it is 2 hours and 40 minutes long, and the background story stuff of them being young, for me, went on a little bit long.
Yeah, the guy
That's
2 open seats down from me was snoring on 2 different occasions, like loud. So
Okay, so yeah, so speaking of people, Did anybody experience people singing in the theater?
Yes,
No.
I did.
So
I
I guess
did.
this is the thing.
It is
Nikki
it is
Oh, yeah.
with this
Oh,
one, it's definitely a thing.
Nikki
It's
was
a hot
telling me that.
topic.
So we went matinee, right? $7 tickets. So loved it. Um, and I thought in the movie theater itself, like the complex, tons of little kids. Somebody had a little obnoxious kid birthday party. So there were screaming children everywhere. And I was like, fuck, when we get in this movie theater, this is gonna suck. And it wasn't bad. There was only 2 times when like kids ran around or whatever, which drives me crazy. And I know Brian is ready to get up and rip somebody's head off when people make noise in a theater.
Hmm.
But there were these 2 preteen type kids, maybe early teens, that were 2 seats down from Nikki. We had a buffer seat, and then I was on the other side. These girls were on the other side, and they sang a lot. And Nikki let me know after, she was like, "That was terrible. Like that was I can't believe they just kept singing." But apparently later on in the evening, like the later kind of the day goes, people sing constantly in the theater while watching this movie. And I was like, is that like where you throw bread and stuff at the Rocky Horror Picture Show, or is that like a known thing? Um,
No,
and I
this has actually been something that this has been a bit of a hot topic or hot button issue with this movie about audience participation in a movie. It's like, why? Sit down
right,
and shut up and
right,
watch the movie. But then now on Christmas Day, they are releasing a sing-along
right.
version of this because they know that they're gonna make a shitload of money off of
yep,
it.
They basically said, we're going to release a version you can sing along with, so don't do it now
yeah.
for
So shut the
people who
fuck
don't know
up and let
Wicked.
people watch the
Right,
movie. Yeah,
right.
Well, and
I get that.
the opinions on
You
this
going
are
to that one, Brian?
wildly. What's that?
I asked if Brian was going to that one.
Hmm.
Yes.
Yes, he is. Yes, he is.
No, I'm
Yeah.
not. I'm not
Uh,
a singer.
no, but you're
I don't
dating
have any
somebody who
musical
would
talent.
love to sing at the movie, and you know that you are going to.
Oh, I was
You were
so worried.
going to
Okay,
that.
so the second time I saw it was her 4th time, and I
Jesus.
I told her, don't sing. You don't sing. But no, she didn't. She respected the movie every time for everyone around. She understands the movie going experience though. So
And is probably scared for her safety.
but I was well prepared if somebody was going to sing during every song to get up and yell. Or at least let them know. And this isn't the first time I've gotten up at a movie theater and went and told people shut up. So I didn't have to though. It didn't happen.
Brian doesn't have an off switch for that. Okay, so sticking with Brian and your experience there, you have said that your girlfriend has gone and cried every time.
4
And
times.
she had a Facebook post that said I cried, and Brian asked why, and I was like, this is part of my soul. And I was like, okay, I got to see this movie and see what part of soul we're talking about. Nikki also cried at this movie twice. So I asked her today. I was like, at what scenes like got you emotional? Like which scenes? And she said the dance, because that was a moment where personalities were coming together, or a real emotional connection happened between 2 people that wouldn't have happened otherwise, and it was an awkward thing. I need to talk about that dance for a second in a moment, and then also the end when they separate. Uh, don't put it in the chat, Melo. Just say it out loud. You wanted to cry in the first 5 minutes. We got it.
I didn't want to cut you. That's all.
Yeah. And so just for the record, I did not feel like crying at any point in the movie. But I understand where Nikki's coming from on that. The dance. I would like to point out, if Aaron's going to say they ripped off Star Wars, they completely ripped off Can't Buy Me Love. In Can't Buy Me Love, Patrick Dempsey does the African anteater ritual at the high
Yes.
school, and everybody else starts doing the African anteater ritual, and that's exactly what happened in this scene. So if we're going to give credit to prior movies of great respect, Can't Buy Me Love was ripped off in this movie.
100% agree with you, Tim. I thought the same thing. This is Can't Buy Me Love. African anteater ritual.
I'm just happy somebody got that reference. Okay, so
Didn't see
Ar-
that coming. Okay.
Ariana Grande and Cynthia Erivo are amazing. I enjoyed this
Wait,
movie for this
I'm
movie,
sorry.
but
You
Yeah.
asked. I was going to the scene
Oh, sorry.
that Becca cried is the defying gravity
Yeah.
part where she's falling, and the
Oh.
point of it is, before that, when the guards come and they grab Glinda, uh, they she says, "Wait, no, it's me, it's me," and then she starts falling, and they have the flashback scene to when she's a little girl, and the point she's trying to um, come to terms with is it's finally about her, because she was brought up in the shadow of her sister, and her dad didn't want her because she was green, and finally it's about me, and then she accepts that and now has the ability to fly and realizes she is a powerful witch, and takes off flying, and then finishes singing the song. So it's an empowerment song
Mhm.
for women, whatever
Okay.
that means.
Okay.
That scene did look awesome with her flying around. I did like that, especially at the end. I didn't care that her cape magically got longer or whatever, but
Right.
that was pretty awesome.
Yep. Visually, and like I was glad I saw that in the theater because the sound that went with
Right.
all that stuff was pretty incredible.
Yeah.
I
Thank you, Melo. And the reason the cape is so big is in the theater, the cape covered the device that lifted the witch in the air. So that's why the cape.
I was
Cool
at
theater
a
trick.
theater.
But it grew, right? Like that was
Well, it was, when I meant theater, I meant the stage production.
no,
yeah.
I'm saying, but in the film, like when she put it on her, it wasn't,
Yeah.
Yeah, no, it did.
40 yards.
No, it
Right.
was.
I
They
mean,
were
it
also
looked cool. It was a nice effect.
they
but
were
there
also
was another
ripping off
thing on it, I was
Spawn because Spawn.
Obviously.
well played.
I
Well
mean,
played.
this is the fakest movie ever made. You're right, Aaron.
Yeah, they're all hacks. They're all hacks. I was just
Bunch of
saying.
Easter eggs in this from beginning to end.
Oh man, I love when he drinks for the show. Ariana Grande, Cynthia Erivo singing is just amazing, and I I noticed that they were singing because like you could see Grande's like vocal cords contracting, like they weren't faking. Like you could tell this was real stuff, and apparently both of them sort of demanded out of John Chu that they would be singing live as they were doing the scenes. Like it wasn't his call, it was their call. This is how we're going to perform. And he was like, I don't know how that's going to go, but I'm not going to tell these two that they can't sing while they're doing it. So this is what we do. Let's just run with it. And so that was an actor choice. And I think it comes through. I think it comes through as more genuine a performance as a result. The Book of Spells, for me, at that point on to the end, the movie is just flat out outstanding. All of that stuff that goes on from that moment on is just amazing. The like I said, it's a little long early before that. I like all the background story stuff. I'm just not sure you need all of it. But you get to that point, and then the rest is just punch you right in the face while you're sitting there. Great. Love the hat. Love the use of the hat. Love the imagery of the hat. It looks like a tornado. In the first scene, when it's in the puddle and flipped upside down, you see a tornado in the puddle. Nice imagery there. The use of the hat, why we end up with a witch wearing a hat like that is, I think, really well handled. Funny note, they did have live sets and then they added CGI, so it's not everything in front of a green screen on a soundstage. Birds nested on the set, and when what's her name? When Cynthia Erivo would sing, because of the notes she would hit, the birds would sing along with her. It's like a fucking Disney movie.
Mhm.
And so it was such a problem for filming that the crew had to learn predatory animal sounds and make them to shut the fucking birds up so she could sing and they could do the shot.
Mhm.
That's great. There's been some talk about monkeys. this is what I was thinking as you guys were discussing. Why all of a sudden did the monkeys decide to be on her side? They're chasing her in the hallway. She's not flying. They get on her side once she starts flying. And I'm just taking a shot that maybe there's some kind of an association there with the monkeys. And
Kind of
also
thought they were still
they gave
chasing
her
her.
the
I didn't think
wings.
they were on her side yet. I thought they were just chasing her in the air. I couldn't tell.
That's true, right?
Yeah.
Until she does the turn and they slam into those guys, and
I
then after
thought-
that, for
That
whatever
seemed
reason,
that seemed more like an accident than it was
Right.
intentional.
Oh, see, I saw it as, and I could
Agreed.
totally be wrong. I saw it as them attacking the guards.
okay.
Yeah,
And
they could
again,
have
we
just
haven't
missed
seen
and
part 2
overshot
yet,
her
so
and ran into the guards. I see that too, though.
I'm willing to hang on to that to part 2 to see if that gets explained. We did talk about this quite a bit because Star Wars. I mean, we're in a group with people who, if we had to, if you gave us paper and pen, we could probably come up with the entire script for at least one Star Wars movie, if not for episode 4, 5, and 6.
Like multiple, yeah.
Right?
at
So
least.
this question about does it bother you that you know where the movie's going to end up has come up a couple of times. I was much more bothered with that with Star Wars because I knew so many little minute details and I couldn't stop myself from thinking, well, how are they going to unravel that problem? You know, I remember specifically with episode 2, Attack of the Clones, walking out of the theater and thinking, wow, do they have a whole lot of things to explain before they can wrap this up? Because there's so much that's still got to be told before I can be okay with that third movie being done. And, you know, I don't have that problem with this movie because I don't know all those details. I just know a few of them, you know?
Like,
Um,
you don't know where it ends up, right?
What's that?
You didn't see the play or read the
No,
book.
no. I'm talking about Wizard of Oz. I mean, I know where
Okay.
it ends for Wizard of Oz is what I'm saying. Your conversations about movies, we only had 3 trailers and then the movie started. And usually there's a thing like, now enjoy the performance. And they didn't have one of those. So when the movie started, I thought it was like the trailer for part 2, because I knew there's a part 2. And they showed, you know, like the water and the thing. And I'm watching it, and I was like, wow, this is a really good trailer. Hey Nikki, is this the movie or is this a trailer again? And then sooner or later we had to go, all right, well, I guess the movie started. During the monkey scene, you guys said monkeys were scary when you were younger. Wow, they carried that over because the monkey slamming into the windows was absolutely terrifying. And that's a pretty solid jump scare. And Nikki doesn't like jump scares. She does
Yeah, I'm
not care
laughing
for
because
those.
Jamie definitely jumped. It was pretty funny.
I like had to put my hand on her and calm her down. Like she did not care for that at all. I was concerned about popcorn flying all over the place. So
If you still had popcorn at that point, then you've disappointed me as a moviegoer.
Calling bullshit.
I didn't know how much popcorn she had left, is what I'm saying. I wasn't concerned about my popcorn. So that's pretty much my list. I'm glad you picked this. I'm glad we all went to the theater. I don't think I would have gone to the theater and seen this, and I'm glad I did because the effect of especially the Gravity song, which is my favorite song, by the way, the effect of the like being immersed in that theater and hearing the sound effects and the music was definitely worth the price of the ticket for me. So I enjoyed the story. I'm looking forward to part 2, and thanks for picking it. It was great.
Okay, so
Exactly.
Oh.
so I guess a question I have for you. So regarding musicals, so over the last year or so, Hollywood has been hiding the fact that some movies are musicals because they're afraid of the box office implications for that.
The Melo
It's ki-
backlash.
well, sure, I guess. But because between Wonka, the Mean Girls reboot, and The Color Purple, all of those were musicals. All of those were not really advertised as musicals, and like I don't know, like do you think that I guess give me your thoughts on that, Tim. Like, do you think that Hollywood should embrace musicals because this obviously is going to be a huge box office success. But at the same time, knowing full well that musicals are not for everybody, a la the Melo effect.
Well, let's see. I think the master stroke in casting is having Ariana Grande in there because, yes, it's a musical, but you have a superstar. If you have a superstar, that might bring people in who are turned off about the musical aspect. So I think when you have that, I think you flex that muscle and you promote it. If it's not, Greatest Showman, I don't remember anybody in that cast being thought of as a great singer.
Oh, Hugh
Right?
Jackman. Hugh
No,
Jackman
he
is
did a
no.
great performance, but I don't remember anybody before seeing that movie being known as a great singer. That's a great movie. It's an outstanding musical. I love that movie, but what I'm saying is if you're going to have a musical and try and hide it when you don't have notable singers as part of your cast is as far as marketing, is what I'm saying.
Like Hugh Jackman, who was in a lot of Broadway and off Broadway and Detroit stuff too.
Yeah, Music Man.
I guess, but I mean,
Oklahoma.
I didn't know that at the time is what I'm saying. I mean, how many people knew that at the time?
And
Like-
Keela Settle is amazing voice. She was
She was she
you
was
picked
she
the wrong
wasn't,
one.
but she wasn't. She was, to Tim's point, she wasn't as well known, and
No,
now
she wasn't. Yeah,
Like an
and-
you're right.
Ariana
and-
Grande
Hmm.
superstar outside of theater performances. That's my point.
yeah, and now she even shows up in this too. So
Mm.
there you go. All right, cool. Wilden.
But
Oh,
I
go.
I was just gonna say I think we hit a stretch in time where musicals became big for a minute,
Mm,
like Chicago and
well,
Moulin
Chicago.
Rouge.
Yeah.
And I mean there was a minute where musicals were all of a sudden kind of a hot fad in making movies, and it went away, and this might bring that back for some other movies
Possible.
or some other musicals to become movies.
Yeah, it's possible. We'll see. Wilden, go ahead.
Brian, anything else you wanted to say there,
I have a lot of things to say, Weldon. Fuck you. That's my
Whoa.
first one.
Whoa.
Hey, Wilden, before you get started, throw this in anywhere. Do you think that the little lion cub turns out to be the Cowardly Lion, which is a character that I know that you love? Throw that in there anywhere in
yeah.
your discussion.
Yeah, of course. I loved that Easter egg as it would be. Yeah, I thought this was fantastic. What's happened? Why was Tim laughing?
Well played. Well played.
Yeah, Brian's
Oh,
clapping for
gotcha,
your
okay.
Easter egg comment.
Because it's
Gotcha.
not a fucking Easter egg. That's why. I moved on. Sorry.
Okay.
Apologies.
Yeah. Do you clearly you've moved on.
Moved on. Better person.
Yep. So, yeah, phenomenal. I enjoy musicals as a play. I don't know if I necessarily enjoy them in movies so much. So like I would kind of be in the same camp as Melo and Aaron normally, but I loved every second. Well, not every second of this, but I loved this movie. I thought it was absolutely fantastic. Um, Cynthia Erivo she nailed it. Ariana Grande nailed it. They were perfect in their roles. Jeff Goldblum is just charming. I love anytime Jeff Goldblum shows up in a movie. It just being his charming self. It's kind of a guilty pleasure for me, but anytime he's there, I'm just like, yes. Last week when we had uh Annie Hall and Jeff Goldblum had his little thing. I don't know if that was his first role, but he just had that small part in there. I was like, I was so excited to see him, and he did a good job here too. But and then even some of like the supporting roles, like the Saturday Night Live's Bowen Yang was one of the friends. It's a minor role, but I thought he nailed that role. It was great. And then also I want Peter Dinklage to do more voice work. When I don't remember the character's name, but when the
Got it.
goats started talking, I remember thinking like, man, this man has just such a pleasant voice. Who is this? And then I just kind of thought about it for a little bit, and I realized, holy shit, that's Peter Dinklage.
It took me a minute
And
too.
that,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. And then I went, wow, yeah, he needs to do this more because it was very, very pleasant. And he did a very good job.
I'm sorry,
Uh,
Mike. Did you said who was Peter? Did you just say goat, Tim? When he said who's Peter Dinklage?
He is GOAT technically.
He is the goat.
he's the,
Oh, it's
Yeah.
yeah, Dr. Dillman. I mean,
there it is. Thank you.
yeah, it was like, yeah, the goat. No, I mean, he had a name. He's a person.
Well,
He had
yeah,
a voice.
okay, you clearly weren't listening. I said I don't remember
Not
the name
you,
of the
not
goat.
you,
I
not you.
preferenced that.
I'm attacking Tim right now. Settle down,
This
Wilden.
is what Brian does. It's what Brian does. That was a swing and a
Drinking
miss.
Brian does
Okay.
It's a
this.
swing and a
So,
miss.
favorite musical number, I think, just to kind of go against the grain, was Loathing. I enjoyed that. I also enjoyed kind of like just the quick back and forth, and I liked a lot of the choreography there. I thought the choreography was a lot of fun. I think the main, if I just had one comment about this, I've never seen a movie musical that so much nailed the vibe of a Broadway musical. I felt that way. I don't know about you guys, but I really felt like this really is just a Broadway musical in movie form. That was kind of how I felt for a lot of this movie. And
Have you seen a
you know,
Broadway
when
musical?
not on Broadway, but I have seen a lot of you know theater and musicals, and I in those cases I love it. And I thought the choreography was great. I thought the you know the singing was fantastic, acting was great. Um, I do like the callbacks to the source material too. You know, just with the base of the Wizard of Oz. You know, Tim, you mentioned the Lion Cub before I could there. That was one of the things I really enjoyed too. Um, I do buy the friendship. In fact, I held back some tears when they were kind of doing the little dance because that is a kind of an emotional part, and that was hey that part was really cool, and I was really glad, and I just there that was the point where I went, this movie's fantastic. As far as their friendship, I think it's real, but I think it's a fresh friendship, and their personalities just don't mix, and so it's not necessarily built for the long haul. You know, whether it's a friendship or a relationship, it's kind of one of those types of things where it's like, oh, this is nice, and that's a really nice moment, and it's great at the time. Um, but they're just kind of destined to not probably be friends forever. Um, and I think just because Glinda is, you know, naturally just selfish and self-centered, that's a thing that not necessarily she was. I don't think she was necessarily using Elfie in that way, but I think it was just kind of bound to happen that when she'd get, you know, an opportunity to do something selfish, she'd kind of be a little more like, you know, that would cause trouble. There were a lot of moments going through after they became friends where it's like, uh-oh, this is gonna cause trouble in this friendship. And like when Elfie's talking to Fiero, you know, talking to the guy, it's like, oh, this is gonna cause problems in that friendship and everything. And then that kind of doesn't come up. I'm sure it's gonna come up in part two. But also didn't mind the first part thing just because I kind of went in to this knowing that that was the case. Um, my cousin Katie's a huge fan of musicals. Like, yeah, there's like an actually filmed production of Hamilton with Lin-Manuel Miranda and everything on Disney Plus. And so when she came to visit, we watched that, and we she kept on pausing and just pointing out every little intricacy to me about the story. I was like, "That's great. Let's watch." But um, but it was very enjoyable. So she texted me out of nowhere uh last week about that she had seen this movie. She had very low expectations, and it just blew her away. She thought it was absolutely fantastic. And so I had a lot of fun texting with her after I saw this. And yeah, I don't know. It was, I guess that's all I got. But I really enjoyed it. I'm glad we went to see it. And I'm looking forward to hearing what Matt Smith has to say.
Mm-hmm.
Mike, I'm glad that you mentioned Cynthia Erivo because and I know a lot of people have mentioned Cynthia Erivo, but Ariana Grande, and rightfully so, has been getting a lot of praise for this. And it's unfortunate because I think Cynthia Erivo has been kind of not like fully pushed to the side, but I think more of the focus is on Ariana Grande because she's a more
Well, like
pop.
Tim said, yeah, she's the superstar.
She's
So it's like, of course.
she's the big get. Um, but with Cynthia Erivo, um, she's got the benefit of she's been in a lot of Broadway stuff.
Right.
She's only been um breaking into film recently. So I guess here's my question for you is that do you think the fact that Cynthia Erivo has been on Broadway was helpful to her or
Absolutely. Yeah, um I think all partially just because of the vocal training that it takes to be on Broadway and sing live.
Mhm,
And just acting in front of, I mean, if you're doing anything live in front of people, you have to do it in one take.
mhm,
Um, it's so absolutely.
mhm.
And um I lost my train of thought there. But yeah.
I
So then
felt she was I felt she was clearly the stronger of the two singers. I mean, her voice was just
Yeah.
one clear. But I thought it had a better, tone or whatever.
mhm,
I thought she was just a better singer. She's not, doesn't have hit albums or anything, but
yeah.
I'll say though
I,
the what made Ariana Grande stand out more to me than Cynthia was what she did with the character. Like the Cynthia Erivo, that's our heroine. That's yeah. It was very straightforward. She did it phenomenally. Ariana Grande kind of had, it wasn't great with what she had to work with, given the role. I would argue, and the fact that given that she still kind of stole the show in some ways,
Mhm,
I thought was
So
commendable.
I like
as
that.
far as
Hang on, Mike, just a second. I like that what they did with Glinda's character is made her kind of annoying. Really, really smart use of that character. And some of you guys were talking about not being able to hear the freaking words that Ariana Grande is singing. I think that's supposed to kind of match some of the shit that happens in Wizard of Oz with Glinda. It sort of it parallels that, and it kind of it pushes the writers into having her sing these old-timey whistle notes that nobody would sing at this point. And so technically Ariana Grande nails them, but they're kind of off-putting. And it's because she's kind of annoying.
and I was gonna
And
say
so
she did a great job of making me not like her. You know,
yeah. Yeah, I think that's on
she
purpose.
kept a
Yeah.
tone of like creepiness or untrust,
Right.
and
Right.
that I didn't like the entire time.
that's
So
called a heel. So
Ariana
real
Grande,
quick.
I'm sorry, Ariana Grande actually wanted to be Elphaba, and she didn't get cast as that. So I mean, it must have been hard for that. Sorry, Mike.
Um, Cynthia Erivo, getting back to Cynthia Erivo, I've seen before we saw this, I saw a lot of like short video clips of I don't have TikTok, but I'm assuming this is a TikTok thing where it was just a bunch of clips of like people kind of like lip syncing that a cappella riff she does right at the end when she's, in the air, the whatever when she's going back and forth. That was a terrible impression of it. But I've seen a lot of people like doing those, and it's been fun. It was fun seeing those. Like there was one where Conan did it that really is pretty funny. So I knew that that happened in the movie, and still, when she sings that riff, it's just like, whoa! Like she does that so well, where it I thought that was a pretty powerful part just from a vocal perspective and everything they've got going on. Obviously, it's towards the end of the movie there, but um, yeah, she is absolutely phenomenal as far as singing, and she did great job acting. And I would expect somebody that's used to being on Broadway to do so, I suppose.
Mhm. All right, cool. All right, Matt, you're up. Tell us why you hated this movie.
He's been real quiet.
Well, you miscalculated here because you didn't speak words. I just showed up so I could take my medicine here. And also so I could
Who
listen
spoke
to you all.
Not words.
So you could listen so I could listen to you all tell me what I should think, because that's clearly the indication from last week that you guys get to tell me what I think. So thank you for doing that. I'm glad you guys enjoyed it. I didn't go watch the movie. I didn't have time.
I was just gonna say, you didn't see the fucking movie. I knew exactly what was going on right there. Damn it.
Yeah, I did not have time. Honestly, I did not have time. Two kids who are very active in things over the weekend. So I was gonna try to go sneak in today, and it just didn't work out. So I did show up because I didn't want to be that guy. So I showed up to, like I said, take my medicine if needed. So
I accused
At
the
least,
wrong
at least
person
you
of-
didn't try to bullshit your way through it like you
No.
did see it, and
I've done that
It's
before.
fine.
I've heard.
I have done that before.
I accused the wrong person of protesting. Matt did not watch the movie out of protest that he
It's
didn't like it
not.
was picked. That's what
It's
happened.
not. No, it was not. It was not. I honestly did not get a chance to see it. I do want to see it, regardless of my previous comments. I just don't. I'm not looking forward to it, but I do want to see it just out of morbid
Wait.
curiosity.
You didn't have time to watch Winnie the Pooh either.
Yeah, that was on purpose, though. This one was not. So sorry, Mike.
No, it's I just thought it was funny. I am really actually curious to hear what you think. So whenever you do actually see it, let us know, because
Sure. Yeah, I mean, unfortunately, it's got a lot working against it. The first movie, because we know there's going to be two, is as long as the entire stage production, which scares me because that means there's probably a lot of like, let's throw this in and let's make these people happy and let's be
Mm.
political, and so I'm not looking forward to that because usually when they fluff it up that much, there's some stuff they could have cut. So
I
and
will
could
say
be-
it's not political.
well, that's good. That's good.
Really?
Who
It's
who
100
was it?
the whole
It's
give them an enemy.
Yeah.
Give the
Bach
public
was
an
wearing a "Make Oz
I
Great
just
Again"
wanted-
shirt the whole time.
Who
My
who
favorite
was
song.
it that's
My favorite song is "Defying Gravity," just so everybody knows.
who was it that said the scene with the monkeys breaking the wings out took too long?
A couple
That-
people
I-
did.
Brian, I think Brian said that.
I totally agree. I like it's you see what's happening. It's like, oh wow, okay, this is pretty cool. And then I don't know, there were a couple parts of that where it's just like, all right, we get it. Like he's breaking the wings out. Let's do it already. But that's a very small knock on a movie. But yeah, it was pretty long.
Wasn't there
I-
like didn't it go like one wing came out and then he was flopping around, there's a wing, and then a second one came out?
Yeah.
Like I think we could have assumed the second one came out.
And then they went
Right.
out to the room and all the
Oh,
other
the other- yeah.
monkeys.
Yeah.
But we
Right.
didn't watch each one individually go through it. They were all out
Yeah.
and
Could've been
screaming.
worse.
And
Could've been
I
worse.
will say this, I knew the jump scare was coming, and because of seeing it once, and the second time my daughter hadn't seen it yet, and I was just staring at her for the jump scare. I was like,
Well, Matt, I'm so glad that I waited last or waited to have you.
I told
go
you
last.
miscalculated, my
He
friend.
was too
I-
quiet. We should have
I
known. He
thought-
was too
I
quiet.
I assumed there was a text involved, and you knew.
I thought you
Right.
knew.
I was
No.
I was gonna send a chat in the beginning, and
I thought the
I
Easter
didn't.
egg was that Matt, you knew, and Matt, and
Brian, that's not an Easter egg. That's not
oh,
what that means.
I don't know what an Easter egg is. Then I
everything
It's
guess.
else
not
is
what
an
that
Easter egg.
fucking is, Brian.
Oh, children's show.
We got one more. One more F word.
All right. So the only other things that I'll kind of add, because a lot of varying perspectives of this, this is the reason why I picked this, because I knew it was going to get a lot of conversation, which I'm grateful for that.
I just thought you didn't want to rewatch any of the movies we already did, but okay.
I've seen I've seen most of them, so
All of them.
I think I've seen
That's who
all
you
of
are.
them. Yeah. So,
There you go.
I mean, the Defying Gravity number, it really is a shame that that song cannot be nominated for Best Original Song because it's not an original song, because that would have made a powerhouse performance at the Oscars. Um, it would not surprise me if they would try to shoehorn it in somehow, kind of similar to a couple years ago when Encanto came out. It's like, oh, we nominated the Two Butterfly song or whatever it's called, but we should have nominated We Don't Talk About Bruno, so we're just gonna have you all perform it instead. So I I really like I loved this movie. I thought it was really great. It's in currently right now it's number 3 on the movies I've seen this year, only above Challengers and I believe Dune Part 2. So just high praise for this on my end. Wilden, you mentioned Peter Dinklage. One of the things that kind of struck me about this is that Peter Dinklage has always been somebody who has advocated that he wants to play actual roles and not like bit roles where he's like an elf, or
Mhm.
in this case, it would have been very easy to typecast him as potentially a munchkin. So the fact that he was not that, he was actually a character of importance is kind of a strong word because Dr. Dillamon doesn't he's like he's a side character, but he's also part of the inciting incident that causes Elphaba to want to go see the wizard in the first place. So there is some level of importance to his character, even though it is small, but um it does not it is not lost on me that Peter Dinklage is in this and he's not playing a munchkin, which is something that he has just been adamant about that he
Right.
would not take roles where he was like a dwarf or an elf or something like that, that would just demean him in a way that he just didn't want. So um, so there's that. It Since I have seen the musical, it really bums me out some of these questions that you guys are asking because it's like I know where these are going, and I can't, I'm not going to say any of it. So
Yeah.
I'm glad that there's at least some level of curiosity, even though Melo has admitted, yeah, I'm not going to see it, or at minimum, maybe not going to see it in the theater.
Right.
Which is fine. I totally get that.
Unless my
But
daughter wants to. And then we'll go.
Or somebody in this group picks that movie.
I was
with
just gonna
that
say I'm gonna
card.
save my pick till this next
Right.
November.
Yeah.
It's all right. I'll pull a Matt Smith.
I just don't know if you know
It's
this, Melo,
fine.
but
I'll
the
reverse
next
your, you know?
round, the next round theme is musicals.
Oh,
So
sweet. All right.
Seven coming
Welcome
right
back.
at you, speedball.
welcome
There-
to come back.
There are some I like.
And then I think I'll sign off with this. I am gonna go against the grain. I thought the opening number was fantastic. I really like the opening number, mainly because it does set the stage that all of these people have just been clamoring for this witch to be dead, and just how everybody is excited about this, but the kind of like the uneasiness in Ariana Grande's not only performance but her facial expression. She's just like, this makes me really uncomfortable. Um, I that was not that was something that I definitely noticed about that. So I did like the opening number a lot.
Because she was her friend.
Friend, yes.
She had no problem throwing that torch on her fucking effigy at the very start.
Whoa.
And she never
I like
said-
that
He
though.
paused. He paused.
I like
She
that.
never-
It looked wrong. It looked like something's up here.
And she never said she was my friend. She was like my roommate or
Mhm.
whatever. I knew her.
Is it true that you were friends? Like, yes. Oh, wait, no.
No, exactly.
I liked how
crossed-
uncomfortable that was. I liked how
Yeah.
uncomfortable that was. I
We-
thought that was a good stage setter.
Yeah, Yeah, our paths crossed at Hogwarts or whatever the fuck it's called.
Mhm.
So, but overall,
Schist.
yeah, overall, I really like this movie. I'm really looking forward to part two. I think bold prediction for this. I do think that this is going to clean up pretty good at the Oscars because there hasn't been a movie at this year that has kind of stood out as like a true front runner yet for the Oscars. And this one has a lot of momentum going for it. It's going to sweep a lot of like the creative categories, which is typical about how there's usually a movie that sweeps a lot of the, the visual effects, the writing, like a lot of the technicals.
Mathematics.
Brian, like honestly, the elves are freaking me out.
He's protesting the Oscars.
No, okay.
Speaking of the elf thing, with Peter Dinklage, I kind of chuckled when they were talking about that just because
Wow.
him talking. No, so like
That's wrong
he-
on so many
I-
levels.
no, look, because but seriously, he's talking about how like he didn't
An
want to take
angry
roles where he was
elf.
typecasted. Exactly. I was thinking of his role
Oh.
in Elf when he comes in there and Buddy keeps on calling him an elf and he gets so mad that he starts beating the shit out of him.
Mhm.
So, Hilty, when you were talking about
It's you.
Peter Dinklage saying like I don't want to be typecast, that was the scene that was in my head. It was like I don't want to be fucking typecast. Like that was
Mhm.
so that's why I chuckled. I didn't want to cut you off though.
Tim, I'm gonna pass the ball back to you.
All right.
Appreciate the
I got a
conversation,
couple more
everybody.
before we
Yep.
move on and do all. I did have a couple other things that I wrote down
Yep.
throughout all this.
He kept
So-
writing during the whole time. I don't know if you guys saw this. Melo kept writing.
I
He
really
was getting
did,
ready
dude.
to shit on everyone. Go ahead.
No. It's not okay, so the first one, since we're doing that, very self-deprecating. Didn't even think of the cowardly lion with that line.
Hmm.
Not even crossed my mind once until somebody said it here.
Well, it's funny because TikTok, there's a lot of TikToks going around that says, "Oh, that animal grows up to be Toto." Like, you fucking idiots! Like, no, that's ridiculous.
The TikTok generation, they're just a bunch of lost little puppies, aren't they?
It's yeah.
Well, speaking of Toto, I get to interrupt now too. Sorry, Melo. Like that was one of the things I didn't know if it was some kind of foreshadowing or whatever, maybe an Easter egg of the wizard not liking animals or whatever's happening with the animals, and it's Toto that kind of like reveals him in the Wizard of Oz. I didn't know. I don't know if something like that happens, but
It's called foreshadowing.
I know that's what I said the first time, and then I said Easter egg.
I realized at the end, although I've been I don't know, whatever the most negative, I suppose. I genuinely do like being out of my comfort zone. That's one of the reasons I really like this group is because I don't get to choose what we're watching most of the time, and that makes me expand my horizons and stuff. And so the obligatory glad I saw it or glad we watched it. I didn't say, but I genuinely do mean. So two other things. The melting thing. Like I kept wondering, I'm like, oh, so like, what happens if it rains? Like that's such a weird. And then she cried, and I'm like, oh, I guess those don't count.
No, it rained.
Her tears
It
have
rained
salt.
Well, it did
it
rain
rained.
once,
And the teacher put the umbrella
and
over and said,
she
"You
waved
can't
away.
get wet."
Which is she doesn't know that first. And so then I'm
So
thinking,
she's
like,
never
this kid
taken a
hasn't
bath after a
showered the whole
shower.
time. Yeah, yeah.
It's magic. It's
Like,
The makeup will come off if she takes a shower.
fine. The last thing I had was one of the things that is real hit or miss on these origin story type things, and we've brought up Star Wars a million times, is when the earlier version that's done after the original, if that made sense, it's so much more badass, right? Like the lightsaber duel in episode 4 is pretty weak, between Obi-Wan and Darth Vader, and then earlier to see all the stuff that they could do and all that. and that kind of I thought of that with this as well, right? Like
Mhm.
the one thing she does, I think, is throw a fireball, and yeah, she flies. You know, compared to what she can do in this, I don't know. There's just a little disconnect a lot of times when that happens, where um, you think of what could have been, maybe.
You want this one,
Those
Hilty, or
are
you want
fair.
me to do it? You want
Go
it, or you
ahead.
want me to do it? Shut up, nerd.
Shut up, nerd.
Fair, fair.
There was a fan made thing where somebody like basically edited they created the Obi-Wan and
I
Darth
saw it.
Vader like thing. Yeah.
It's
That was
badass. It's way better. It's so
Yeah.
much better.
yeah.
So, does everyone else think Dan just didn't go to the theater and see it and didn't
100%.
want to take
Look
his
at Matt's like,
medicine?
I hope he didn't.
Like Matt, yeah, Matt was like, Matt, yeah, he didn't.
He doesn't want that to be his thing.
Yeah, I was gonna
Bravo for showing up though, man.
I was gonna say Matt Smithing is already a thing. You can't
Yeah, you can't call that
tremendous-
Matt
you
Smithing.
can't
I
call
did
that
think
a
of
thing.
that. I did think of that.
Yeah, as outspoken as you were.
Right. Right. Might as well have not been here. Okay, I think we can call that a wrap on Wicked. Really good conversation. Excellent pick, Hilty, if for nothing else, to have different opinions about the movie, which always makes this conversation a little better.
But not just other opinions. I was not expecting that this talking about Wicked was going to yield Star Wars, Spawn, and Can't Buy Me Love references as well. So
Well,
I
the
gotta
Star
do it.
Wars makes a lot of sense, I think.
I got to do it.
Can't
Hilty,
Buy
have,
Me
Have
Love.
you seen Can't Buy Me Love, Hilty?
yes, of course I
Son of
have.
a bitch! You can't beat. You
Stupid.
cannot beat this
Stupid,
guy.
Stupid. Why do you?
Can't beat this guy.
Yeah, no, stop
I
it.
thought he's a little younger.
Wilden, have
maybe.
you ever heard of the song by the Beatles?
Shut the
Can't
fuck
Buy
up,
Me
Ryan.
Love? It was a Beatles song. I was going a different medium. Okay,
I was
sorry.
raised on the goddamn Beatles. Go fuck yourself.
Okay. All right.
Now we're over.
Oh.
We're gonna lose our sponsorship if we're not careful, guys. So moving on to I have the first pick here, and we have a new theme. And I told you guys this last time. This theme will be called You Might Also Like. And so what I did, you don't have to do this with all of your movies. I just wanted to be exhaustive here. I went to every movie that I've picked. I went to IMDb. And if you scroll down a little bit, it gives you 12 movies you might also like as a result of having picked that movie. So the challenge here is go to a movie that you've picked, go through the you might also like. I picked one that I've never seen before. I don't know that you have to pick one that you've never seen before, but I think that's the theme. Something that you picked and something that IMDb offers that you might also like. So I went to, man, I'm real close in between two of them, but from Wild Tales way back in the day.
Fucking Christ.
They suggested a movie which is an A24 movie. Brie Larson is has a great role in here, and there was a lot of talk about her. Should have been nominated for an Oscar. This movie is called Room. And
won the Oscar.
Did she win the Oscar for it?
She
Well,
won
then
the Oscar for it.
they
What are
were
you
right
talking
that
about?
she should have been nominated. Then they
She
got
absolutely should
Yeah.
have won that Oscar.
Yeah.
So,
she probably should have been nominated if she won the Oscar.
that right. Yeah. all of that is apparently true. In retrospective. Anyway, we're gonna watch a movie called Room. It is a renter. You can rent it on Prime, Apple TV. I'm not even gonna tell you what it's about. But it's I haven't seen it. I've seen trailers for it, and I've seen people talking about it, and it looks like something that will make for a good discussion. So the movie is Room.
The movie that it's linked to, the one that you found it from,
Wild Tales.
Wild Tales. Can you give me a 2-minute synopsis of that one? Because I've never even heard
Yeah.
of that.
Go watch a shitty movie.
Okay, when Brian said he
couldn't
really
even
liked
get
Wild
through it.
Tales when he watched it, so he's full of shit.
did
Wild Tales
not.
is from Argentina, and it is 6 little vignettes about dark humor. several unrelated stories as far as plot, but there is the a connecting theme of vengeance
Got
and retribution. And this, I don't really see a connection between the two, but that's what IMDb says. So our movie is Room. That'll do it for this episode of the BTB Movie Club podcast. Thank you as always for listening. We know we enjoyed ourselves. We hope you did too. Hey, we are partnered with the SPDM Crew Podcasting Network. Please stop by and enjoy some of their excellent material. And have yourselves a good week.